Hey, welcome to the BK Show podcast. This is episode number 25, and today I am joined by Nate Ginsburg. Now, Nate owns so many companies I don't even really know where to begin here, but here's a few of them. So he co-owns, he's a part owner in AMZPathfinder, who helps great brands scale with Amazon advertising. He also owns SellerPlex, where they help entrepreneurs unplug from their operations, scale, and successfully exit their business. He also owns part of usethebitcoin.com, which focuses on delivering the latest cryptocurrency news to crypto enthusiasts out there. Nate is part of a few other companies as well, and we get to that in his story. He recently, I guess it's been a couple years now, exited a Amazon FBA business for a decent sum of money, and we definitely dive into that story. We talk about him being in Thailand right now, what that's like during COVID, what he's doing with his exit money, how he's partnering with businesses, what those deals look like. We talk about Bitcoin, as cryptocurrency is something I like to geek out about once in a while. And so we dive into that. We talk about where he's investing his money and really just kind of a wandering conversation, which is definitely the type I enjoy. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Please welcome to the show, Nate Ginsburg. Nate Ginsburg, welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Good morning from Chiang Mai, Thailand.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm jealous. Chiang Mai, Thailand in general, I just love it. I went there last December, right after a mastermind. Went there by myself for 2 weeks. I averaged like 10 miles a day just walking around the city. I don't know. I love it. The land of smiles. And there's no place I'd rather be right now, not cooped up in my house, right? And like, that's one of the first questions I have is like, what is it like over there? Over here, it's crazy. COVID's bananas. You're from the same areas as me, Minneapolis. I know it's kind of crazy around here right now. And so I'm genuinely curious, what's it like? What does it feel like in Thailand?
Yeah, it's actually, so Thailand, when COVID hit, Thailand locked down pretty quickly, and so they locked down, just like things weren't open, but most importantly, they closed the borders, and so since then, that allowed them to really get on top of this whole COVID situation, and so currently Thailand is totally COVID free. There's no, hasn't been local COVID transmissions for like months. And so, yeah, day to day, I just, got back, got my tea, and, coffee shop, there's like no masks, no social distancing, everything's open. There's bars, clubs, whatever. The only times you really need to wear a mask for whatever reason are going into like 7-Eleven or like the, convenience stores or malls. Other than that, there's no masks. And yeah, I wasn't planning on spending the whole year here, but here I am. And with all the craziness going on everywhere and the relative, openness and situation here, still here. And yeah, it's, all things considered, pretty good place to wait this out.
I remember seeing your post in March. I had just exited a company. I don't think I was taking COVID as seriously as I should. And we all should have, right? When China was building hospitals in 7 days, we should have been like, hey, something's going on here. But I remember seeing your post of like, if you're a digital nomad, now is the time to get where you want to be because things are going to change. And I read your post and I'm like, maybe. I honestly didn't believe it when I read it. And you were dead on, right? Like you must have just gotten into Thailand in time.
Yeah. For me, it was like, as I think a lot of us were, casually following. And I think being in Thailand and also just like Thai people, or I was in Thailand, I was in Bali, when this was starting to happen. And I don't know, maybe the culture being a little more cautious, just kind of in general. Because I remember I was in Thailand in mid-January when stuff was just starting, and some people were kind of freaking out a little bit, and I was like, this is not a big deal, but there were people that were concerned, and so that, I don't know, had that a little bit of a backdrop. And then, yeah, man, I was in Bali, and it was mid-March, and woke up. I think I had a podcast interview in the morning, went to yoga, awesome Bali day after I go to this, it's beautiful beach cafe restaurant, beautiful views. then I'm there and I'm like catching up on messages on my phone. And I see that Manila is like locking down like in 2 days. And one of my best friends at the time was in Manila. And like that was kind of like the wake up call of like, wow, like, this is something's happening. And like, I need to, like, I want to be in the best situation I can, all things considered. So then it's like, I'm like calling my family, talking to my friends, like, where do I go? Do I, fly back to America? Do I stay in Bali? And yeah, for a variety of different reasons, thought that Thailand made the most sense. And so literally like booked a flight that day, was on a plane, that evening into Thailand. And yeah, and that's when I made that post of just like find somewhere to post up, and man, was not, didn't think that when I made that post, fast forward now, however many 8 months later, that, still be in the same place. But yeah, here we are.
What does that look like from like a visa perspective? Like on a tourist visa, you can go to Thailand for 30 days. You can get it extended 30 more. What does that look like now that you've been there this long? Are they like, you're in here, if you leave, you're not coming back, or how are they handling that?
Well, if you leave, it is, it's not impossible, but it's tricky to come back. Like, it's possible to get into Thailand, but you need to have a certain visa. You need to quarantine. It's like not very readily available. But yeah, I mean, the visa was a concern. I remember when I first got here, I was like, scrambling around, you get the 30 days on arrival. And then like the first week I'm like, all right, I got to extend this, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I thought like 2 months was going to be, an amount of time that I was going to be, COVID stranded or whatever. But yeah, then the government, they ended up like, just kind of like adding, like, first it was like visa amnesty. So they pushed it back, and it's like, okay, all visas are extended. It was until like, I don't know, a couple months later, maybe like May or June. And then they kept like kind of pushing it back, like little by little. And yeah, I mean, then like I ended up just getting a volunteer visa, which like is available if you're here. And so yeah, some people, I think if you would have done nothing, I think that they're still like pushing it back or kind of making it easy-ish or possible for tourist visas to continue to extend. Because I mean, the other thing, so Thailand, like these days, it's a really interesting situation. There's, I mean, no COVID and no tourists. And, with a country that I think it's one of, if not the biggest tourism economies in the world, it's, you feel it. And so the small amount of foreigners, expats, whatever that are here, I think like, I mean, it would make sense that they would like us to continue to stay here and, spending money. And I mean, it's maybe still like a drop in the bucket compared to what it, normally is in terms of tourism. But like, I think Thailand would want as much people here spending versus, trying to get people out. So yeah.
I'm officially jealous. Like, I would love to be there right now. I think, more than just COVID, this year in general, especially in the United States, has been a little crazy. I mean, in our hometown, right? In Minneapolis, there was some riots and a lot of protests, and other places in the country also saw similar things. Look, it's been a crazy year, and so I'm jealous. I'd love to be there with you. I think this leads right into your story of like, you started as a digital nomad before you started like being an entrepreneur. Am I wrong?
I guess it was, well, so I first got like inspired or kind of like the catalyst for me to go onto this path. I was backpacking in Thailand, actually, and this was in 2011. And I had just finished up a year teaching English in Korea and was backpacking on my way home. And, it was like 23 years old and trying to, figure out what I wanted to do with my life and next. And yeah, I was backpacking, and I was actually up in Pai, so a couple hours north of here. and was staying in this hostel and met this, the first like digital nomad, this guy, Andrew, who really just like meeting him just like blew my mind that like this kind of thing was possible. He was doing some kind of remote sales stuff that, he had a little sales agency or whatever, and had a couple virtual assistants and, people in India or Indonesia or, Philippines or this. And he introduced me to just like internet marketing, to outsourcing, that, any of this stuff was a thing. And I just had like, after I met him, it's crazy looking back, but it was so clear and obvious after I met him that I was like, that's what I want to do. Like a business that I can run from my computer that allows me to be here, be there. And, at the time I was in a very like impressionable, it was a very impressionable time. I was, just kind of finished up this thing in Korea, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so the timing was, I think I was just very receptive at that time to, be inspired. And so, yeah, then, so met Andrew, and he kind of gave me some of these ideas about building these SEO lead gen websites, which I was very excited about at the time. and yeah, when I got back home, I'd never been inspired in that way. And like I'd always in my life, like in college and high school, I'd always been like, do the minimum necessary. And I did generally well in school, but like I definitely was not like a hard worker. I was very much a do the minimum needed to, do well. I got, pretty good grades, whatever. But yeah, like after meeting Andrew, like something, I don't know, like a switch was flipped. and I was just like, diving into, everything that I could read, and just so inspired. And during this time, it was crazy. Like I actually was like manic. Like I wasn't sleeping. I was just like working, and, not my family, not anyone was going to tell me that I wasn't going to be a freaking millionaire like next year. And, so I got to work and was trying to figure out building these, websites. And, the one problem is that like, I don't know how to build websites. I'm not a designer. I don't know anything about SEO or design. And so that led me to, figure out like hiring and outsourcing. And, it was Odesk, now Upwork. And like, I remember, trying to hire some writers. I was building these cosmetic surgery websites, like Cosmetic Surgery Atlanta, Cosmetic Surgery Baton Rouge, Cosmetic Surgery, whatever. And so, had to, figure stuff out or get people to help with this and that. And yeah, like I had some money saved up from Korea, which like, paid pretty well. And so, I was, trying to like, build the team to do the things that I didn't know how to do, which ended up being expensive, but also, a valuable lesson. And so none of the websites ever made any money. I successfully launched a bunch of them and successfully spent a bunch of money, but none of them ended up, I didn't make any, income from them. But what I did learn was kind of the start of some really valuable skills that have and still like massively impacted, how I approach business today. And a lot of the like the values, now that still are really strong and driving in me of like, like in all my businesses and in my career, like I think it's so important to do the things that we enjoy and we're best at, and to get the other stuff off your plate and have other people do the things that, that they're better at. And so yeah, I kind of like, pop my hiring cherry, so to speak, quite early. And, now fast forward, it's been almost 10 years. And like, that's been a huge, shaper of, who I am and like how I approach everything. And so even though that first, business opportunity the original idea I was pursuing didn't work out, I did, was able to start building some of these skills that had a positive impact that, has led me to, where I am now.
Well, the way you described that feeling in the beginning is something I can completely relate to. I don't recall whose podcast I listened to first, but I heard about drop shipping and living on a beach in Thailand, and I was just like, I'm sold. And the moment I realized there was more to this world than me working at a Walmart distribution center, which is where I worked, I couldn't stop. I listened constantly, driving to and from work, and just sitting at home, and I had to dig deeper and figure out what was going on. But I love that you failed. I love that you set all of this up, spent all of your money and failed, and then kept going, because I think that's what happens, at least to a lot of people I've worked with and consulted with. They see there's an opportunity, they're running away from pain, and they get out there and they try something and it flops, and then they're just like, well, obviously that won't work either. But you pushed through it, man, and you probably learned a lot of valuable lessons along the way.
Yeah. And I mean, I definitely like glossed over some of the, more challenging parts of the whole failure aspect. But yeah, I mean, there was like, I remember I was, so it was maybe the following summer. So I kind of got back to America. This was, the fall, when I was really just like, high on building this new business and was so excited. But my family thought I was crazy, like actually crazy. They're like, where did this come from? Like, he meets this random guy in Thailand. Now he's going to like, build websites. Like it really, I mean, it came out of nowhere, but for me, it like, I don't know, it made sense. And then, what kind of happened? It's like, I was riding this high, for so long, and it's like, oh, like, this is how it's going to work out. And then at this month, I'll be making this money. And it was all just like projecting into the future, how I thought it was going to look. And then, fast forward, it's like kind of getting, 1 month in, 2 month, 3 month, 4, and like money wasn't coming in. And, my savings, which I had, a bit, not a huge amount. It's like, going down and down and down. And it's like, as the combination of like my savings going down and these business, like, the plan not working like I thought it was, the previous months, like it was hard. I mean, I remember during that time, like I was depressed, like, not sleeping late, not wanting to get out of bed, just feeling lost, and just really like, I didn't know what to do. And so during that time, I mean, I like at the time there was like a few entrepreneurs that I was, knew kind of from high school, or some of these guys that I, reached out to for advice. And the advice that I got was, you're young, and if this is what you want to keep doing, like you can afford to keep going if you can. Like, you don't have other expenses, you don't have, obligations, and like, if you keep trying, worst case, a year from now, you'll be, 24 or whatever, get a job, like not much worse off than being, 23 and, trying to get a job. And so I ended up moving back home, cut all my expenses, moved back home. And that's when things started to like, turn around. I started making a little bit of money freelancing, which then allowed me to, take off. And then I guess also I think you first were asking, when I really, I guess, started my, traveling digital nomad online business, whatever journey, I'd say was like the spring of 2013 is when I like took off. And yeah, a lot's happened and changed since then. But I'd say that's like the start of the online business traveling journey.
So it's funny that your parents weren't all for it, right? Just knowing where you are now, like I interviewed your little brother on my very first podcast, Take Consistent Action, and I interviewed your brother after he was at the DSL retreat singing at the last night on that mountain view in Onong. It just seemed like an interesting dude that I wanted to talk to, and like I'm pretty sure I see your sister traveling all the time, and like it seems like you guys have all built a life like this of where you're able to live wherever you want to live and make things work. And so, what does it look like now talking to your parents, like reminiscing of the days where they were, wondering whether you were going to make this work?
Yeah, well, so it's interesting. So first, like my parents they're divorced. I mean, they're, fairly good terms, but like they're very different. And so my mom during this, I mean, I love her. I love both my parents. But she she's just like the most supportive person that you could ever meet. And so, for her, I was, she was like uber supportive and, telling me that I could, do anything and I could do this. And, she's just like really, yeah, like pushing me, forward, whatever way she could help was just like totally, even to the point of like, I mean, looking back, like I was a little bit crazy. Like it's true. Like, look at it objectively, like look at the facts. Like it was, I was, yeah. But my mom, it's like, I guess I get that part of me from her of just like optimistic, positive. And so, yeah, so I had that, my mom on the one side, and then my dad's like the total opposite, very, like conservative, practical, critical, analytical. I mean, he's a profession is a lawyer. And so he's like very, yeah. And so for him, like he was the one who like, I'm telling him like, Dad, I'm doing this. I'm going to make $1 million. He's just like literally rolling his eyes at me. And man, I mean, I remember at the time, like, it's like funny looking back, like I was so hurt. It's like, how can my dad not believe in me? My mom's on the one hand telling me, oh yeah, you can do it. And, I'm like, oh, like, why doesn't my dad believe in me? Like what, and looking back, like I was kind of crazy, like I totally understood, looking back, his skepticism, which turned out to be, I mean, in the short term, true. And so yeah, so I kind of had that, I mean, it was an interesting, experience kind of, balancing both, but then, fast forward. And I mean, my dad, the practical person that he is, was like, as time went on and I wasn't hitting him up for money, he's like, well, like, I don't know what he's doing, but he's supporting himself. And so like something's doing okay. And, as time went on, and I mean, I was able to register some, more notable wins or successes, or my business is like, starting to do well. And yeah, he kind of turned him into a believer. And then, my brother and sister were kind of getting into similar entrepreneurship. And yeah, so yeah, that's kind of led us all to, I mean, my brother and sister have also gone on their own, paths and changing and this and that. But yeah, all of us like independently, none of us like employed.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch all of your family. I haven't met your sister, but your brother's interesting. I don't know how else to put him. Like his, his songs in Vietnamese are pretty hilarious. And you've been on your own journey. Which, look, I want to know a little bit more about it. Like you became a digital nomad. Talk to me about all the places in the world that you were building your business, and talk to me about this Amazon business that you built and now have sold.
Yeah. So let's see. It started. So I took off traveling in 2013, and what really kind of like the next catalyst in my journey was joining the Dynamite Circle, the DC, like, online business community, which that was, so their podcast, the Tropical MBA or Lifestyle Business Podcast, like that's what I was listening to this was, in 2012, the winter of 2012,
They've been around that long?
Yeah. Even longer. Like I was, like, I remember it was like, the winter of 2012, I'm living at my mom's house in, the suburbs of Minneapolis, and like, going to the gym in December, it's like negative 1,000,000 degrees. And, at the gym, and like, I'm just like listening to the Lifestyle Business Podcast, and just like, they're talking about Thailand and Vietnam. And it was just like, I just wanted to be there and do that. And so, at a, like things were slowly kind of picking up, or I was not even picking up. I was just finding some like, consulting gigs, like a little bit, making a bit of money, not, nothing super significant. But at a certain point, then like I had the confidence to like apply to join the DC. This was like a huge moment for me. And so I joined that community, and then I came back to Asia in the fall for their big annual event. And so this was in the end of 2013. I came over, and like that was the next big catalyst for me in my life and career, was like coming over to Asia, and then like basically staying. And so I came over and just like met and really got you know, engrossed with that whole community and just like, man, I mean, I just met amazing people. Everyone was so cool and doing such interesting things. And, we were all like weird in the same ways about business, about health, about this. And like, it was just like like-minded people. And so, yeah, after the event, I kind of made my way to Ho Chi Minh City, which became home/home base for like, yeah, the next maybe like 4 years. And, it's during that time that really like, I feel like I like grew up. I mean, I was there. That was like, for the majority of like the second half of my 20s was, living or based in Ho Chi Minh City. And like, that's when I first got into e-commerce. That's when I really met and was hanging out with Anton, as well as, I mean, amazing, the whole, crew there was, I mean, yeah, great people. And a lot are still good friends to this day. And it was like from that I kind of got, at the time I was just mostly freelancing, and it was, it was okay making enough money to live a decent life in, Vietnam, but like I wanted to build like an actual business. And so that's what got me on to, more e-commerce. And I tried drop shipping, which, career made one sale.
Really?
Yeah. This
Even being good friends with Anton, you couldn't pull it off?
I mean, I didn't like, looking back at it, like I really, like I very much like half-assed it. I mean, I didn't like I knew what I had to do, but at the time, and it's interesting and like a big shift, like at the time I was so short-term focused, and it was like, all right, I need to do this. This needs to make me money, today, tomorrow, this week, this month. And so, the things that I mean, I kind of like, I did need the money. I mean, I had some income coming in from whatever, but I was so like in way too much short-term, focused that like, I wasn't, I mean, I didn't build the stores in the right way for sure. And so, wasn't able to have success with that. And yeah, so, tried some drop shipping stores, didn't really work out. And then I was also learning about Amazon, and there were some people, around the scene that were kind of getting into it. And yeah, I mean, everyone was so cool and just like generous with their time and knowledge, and everyone's just like trying to help and, oh, like, let me show you what's working for me. And, oh, like, I'll answer all your questions. And yeah, I mean, that was huge for me. And so it actually was at the first DSL retreat that I went to. I'm not sure if you were at the one in Chiang Mai, but this another friend of mine, this guy Ben, who had gotten into FBA, he was a speaker there, and hearing him talk about his business, how he got up to like, it was, I don't know, 20K a month or 50K a month, and like, X few number of months. Like, it was kind of that where I was just like, all right, look, like I need to give this a go. And, from that's kind of was like, I committed to like, all right, I'm going to, launch a product on Amazon. And, fast forward, I mean, it took longer, went slower, all this kind of stuff. Like I launched my first product the following spring. And, the first one did okay. Like it's, was making some sales, but not, nothing that significant. But like, I kind of like, I got it. I mean, I saw how the process sort of worked, and it was, making some sales. And then, yeah, I was later that year, I was in Bali and was just kind of like browsing shops and, whatever, and came across this store that was selling a bunch of like activated charcoal related products. And like, this was the first that I had heard of activated charcoal. And like, they had all these kind of cool things and these different kind of cool properties. And I was like, like, maybe I can sell that. And so that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of trying to, learn more about the product and see the opportunities on Amazon and, source the product. And so I did, I found this, manufacturer in China that made a variety of different activated charcoal related products. And I launched my first activated charcoal related product. I thought like, oh, best case scenario, it's going to do, 10 sales, 20 sales a day. It was not expensive, like, $8, for this little box. And And yeah, so then I launched it, and then like all of a sudden it just like started to take off. My first order was like, 500 units or something. And all of a sudden it's going, and, it's selling, 10 a day, 15 a day, 20 a day, 30 a day. Then like, boom, out of stock. And I'm like, all right, I gotta, place another order, maxing out my credit cards, trying to like get inventory. And then it's like 30 a day, 40 a day, 50 a day, boom, out of stock. And again, I'm like maxing out my credit cards, just trying to like buy as many as I can. And yeah, and that kind of, was like riding that, and, launched a couple different variations and this and that. And like, eventually that one freaking product that like I thought was going to do 10 sales a day, best case scenario, was selling like 100 or like 150 units a day, which was like, this became, significant. Like the business grew to, quite quickly to like 6 figures a month. And yeah, it was like, so that was like the ride up of, when things like, so that was when things, kind of first, hit for me or my businesses, was like, yeah, selling these freaking activated charcoal products, which yeah, got me to my first like, 6-figure a month, sales. And yeah, that was in 2015, I think, was when things were, yeah, kind of taking off with that business.
Well, it's a glorious time to be in Amazon back then too, right? You could manufacture reviews, you could manufacture sales, you could do all kinds of I'll call them fun things to make things take off. But it's interesting that you thought you would only get 10 sales a day, right? And I would assume the metrics probably told you that too. And then the sales were a lot more. I think I found that with all of my products too, of like the data I'm finding using all the tools that are out there, they're low. They're always low. And that I think you're underestimating the audience size that Amazon has and just what's out there.
Yeah. And I mean, at the time I didn't know what I was doing. And yeah, I think that like, the lesson from that is like, sometimes you just gotta, like, sometimes you'll be surprised to the upside. You gotta like take the action and put yourself in a situation where you can benefit from upside, but yeah, sometimes you right place, right time, and things can just kind of take off.
But you talked about cash flow issues, right? And so I would assume that doesn't go away, just based on my own experience. So what happens as you grow? Like, you obviously ran into cash flow issues in the beginning. Did you ever reach a point where they finally went away? Is there a magical crescendo point?
Well, for me, so sort of. I mean, the way that my cash flow problems went away was by taking on an investor. And so, at the time, and it was like, because this is what I was thinking, like all of a sudden my business was selling, $100,000 a month, but like my bank account was the same as it was, before. I had like $5,000 in my bank. And I was like, what am I doing this for? And yeah. And at the time, my, good friend from Vietnam, Travis Jameson, who co-founded, he had a lot of success and exits and had recently exited like a majority stake in his software business for like lots of money. And I remember I was like, hanging out in Saigon, catching up with Travis, and we were friends, and he was, up to that, was like and is like a big mentor to me. And I was just, just sharing with him how things were going. And he was just, helping me out and, giving tips or whatever. So he was quite aware of my business and how things were going. And, I remember we were like catching up at the co-working space in Vietnam, and I was just, telling him how things were going. And I was like, yeah. And like, I don't know if I want to like sell this so that I can put some money into my bank and do this again, or take on an investor. And, Travis was kind of like, oh, well, like, I'm actually looking to start investing in companies. And it was just like, okay, and, fast forward, we kept talking, and yeah, he ended up buying into that business. He sold him like 49%. So I maintained majority ownership. And yeah, like that is, that was the first most significant financial, leveling up in my life. My bank account went from, a couple $1,000s to all of a sudden like a couple 6 figures. And like that was life changing. And so yeah, then when that happened, that it like took a lot of the pressure off of like, okay, I don't need to take money out of this business. I can just keep reinvesting. And Travis also like made additional money available for products and like, so yeah, that's how we solved our cash flow issues.
Yeah, Travis is a good dude. So we were looking at one of the companies I was with. We were looking at Smash Digital to build some links for us, and I happened to be in Charlotte. So I reached out to him. I had dinner with him. He's a interesting character as well. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's a really smart guy. He's doing some cool stuff that I think I'd like to get into. And I hope we get into this a little bit later of like, once you exited, where the heck are you putting your money? Because like he did the same thing, right? He exited for a way bigger number than I did, a way bigger number than you did, I think. Good on him. But I like what he's doing with like Smash VC of coming into businesses like yours, buying some off the table, right? To make you feel better. I would assume he brought knowledge to the table. I would assume he brought some skills to the table that you didn't have in your business and not just money. But I like the idea of putting my money into businesses. I think they have more growth potential than the stock market, right? Like if you get good returns in the stocks, you're going to get 8 to 12% good years or over time. I know what I can do in a business, and I wonder if finding businesses like yours, like other people out there who could use a little money in their pocket and a wealth of knowledge in their business. I like his model there. Like, do you know a little bit more about what he does?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, we can. So I'll kind of like fast track the story to get into the investing part. But so basically, a year later, we had an opportunity to sell the business and did. And the buyer was a connection through Travis. And so like that was, I think he certainly provided great value to the overall business, connecting us with the buyer. And, as well as other stuff. And, we would chat and so, I had that experience of being invested in, and having a good outcome with Travis. And and then after that, it kind of the first deep existential questioning, what do I want to do next? What's important? What am I good at? Where do I go? Who am I? And yeah, like I'm a very like introspective person. And I mean, I always have been. Very like, I love like psychology, philosophy. Like I try to take some pretty, deep and long looks at myself and yeah, that's kind of like how my mind works. And so yeah, after this exit was like reading all these books about, purpose and unique abilities, and got introduced to a lot of, concepts that are still like core to my worldview and philosophy. And one of the things that I kind of, conclusions I came to was like, oh, like I've got some skills and experience, also now a little bit of cash. I'm like, oh, like I want to get involved as an investor. And so, that kind of got me on this next journey of like, all right, well, like, how do I find businesses to invest in? I thought, oh, I'll go on podcasts and I'll talk about my story and I'll just have, people reaching out to me that want me to invest. And, I did that. I started to go on a bunch of podcasts, share my story, and like, did not get so many people reaching out. But what did happen though is I felt and noticed my profile, like within the circles that I was already in, was kind of elevated and raised. And, and so then as a result of that, what happened is there was somebody that we actually like had done some work together. This guy Brent with a Amazon or AMZPathfinder, an Amazon PPC agency, who I had hired Brent, I don't know, some years before as like a consultant to work with my team on Amazon PPC. And yeah, like, Brent was like super good guy. And at the time he was, mostly a freelancer. It was like him, he had, maybe a VA or something, but yeah, did good work and was just like, yeah, a good guy. We had some experience working together. And so, yeah, kind of, I was just kind of thinking, I'm like, oh, like maybe that could be an opportunity. And so, suggested the idea to Brent. And, long story short, he was interested. I was interested. We got Travis involved as well. And so Travis and I invested in Brent's business, AMZPathfinder. And yes, this was at the end of 2017, man. So I guess like 3 years ago now. But like, the business is doing freaking awesome. It's grown, it's like 8x the revenue where it was before. I mean, it was doing like 10K a month or something when we got involved. And now it's like, it's like it's like a, $1 million agency. And yeah, the business has totally transformed. Went from Brent, being mostly a freelancer to now there's a team, there's like, 15 or plus people. There's a, general manager, there's senior account manager. It's like this whole, organization. And that's the kind of stuff that like, yeah, back to the beginning of my story. And I'm just like, my experience with hiring and team building and kind of delegating. And like, that's just like always been the lens that I see business. And so that was one of the things that I thought, I could help Brent in this business was, to go from, basically a freelancer to, helping him. And I mean, he like, Brent did all the hard work. I was, trying to help in whatever the ways that I could. But I thought that was some perspective and experience that I could bring around, building an actual, business and organization, work on the business as opposed to in the business. And yeah, so that, I mean, has gone incredibly well. And I mean, if you're talking about, cash on cash return, like versus, I mean, I don't know what the only other investment that probably would have topped that would have been Bitcoin. but yeah, so then fast forward, I've personally now invested and partnered with another small handful, another three other businesses invested in or partnered with. And yeah, with the same thinking that, what you were saying, it's like, all right, I've got some skills and experience. And as opposed to just like put my money in the market and just like, I don't know, just see what happens, find opportunities where I actually think I can have an impact. And so that's where, so yeah, now that's turned into this, small portfolio of online businesses that I'm, mostly a partner in that like, yeah, I try to help in ways that I can. I mean, I'm not like operationally involved, but, try to help when I can. And so what that looks like is, I'll have calls with my business partners, I don't know, every week or so or 2 weeks or, I mean, each business is kind of different. I'll help with hiring sometimes or help the business build out hiring capabilities, which is something that, again, I mean, I've got good experience with and is important and I enjoy. Like I'll have calls with some of the team members sometimes and yeah, and like that's overall it's going well. I mean, I've learned a ton and like, time will tell. I mean, so far, so Pathfinder was the first business that I got involved with and, has done the best. I mean, it's had the longest kind of track record. The other ones though, like, also on a good trajectory, but I've learned a ton and it's just like, what you think will happen probably won't, but that's also okay. Something different. I mean, yeah, it's been a huge learning experience and yeah, and this is something that I want to continue to do with my career. I mean, it's fun. I like it. And yeah, I mean, I like working with and helping other entrepreneurs, and, want to keep like, yeah, getting involved with more businesses as my career progresses. And I see this as like, yeah, like a long-term, direction and strategy of like, yeah, investing with and partnering with businesses, adding value, helping them grow and sharing in the upside.
Well, I'm genuinely curious, right? Like I think we exited both for high six figures. And I'm sitting here wondering, what the fuck should I do with all my money, right? Like you're a really smart guy. So I know you've thought about this. I do want to dive into the crypto like in a little bit, but I'd love to talk about the investing side first as far as businesses go. Like how are you structuring all this? Are you coming in immediately and just like helping them take something off the table? Are you earning in? Are you like, how are you pitching your value? Obviously partnerships are the hardest ship to steer. And so at some point, some of these must go sour, I would assume. I don't know. I've been in some great partnerships. I've been in some bad ones. And so I'm genuinely curious, like the optics of all this. Like, walk me through a few of them, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, I mean, good questions. And yeah, I mean, it's like, there's a lot of factors at play here for sure. And, one thing that I've learned and continue to learn about investing, and one thing that I like about it is it's such a like coming to an agreement is such a it's such a creative process. There's no like this way or that way. There's a million and one ways that you can structure deals. And I've learned now over the years. I mean, I've learned a lot more about it now than a few years ago. But yeah, what I'm trying to do is so a few things. One, I knew that my objective for the investing was cash flow. So I wanted to get involved with businesses that would be cash flow generating. And so my arrangement, it's like I buy in for a chunk of the owner's equity. And this is what Travis did, and this is also consistent. I mean, Travis has done he has a lot wider range of investing experience. He's done a lot of angel investing, as well as this type of income or cash flow investing as well. But yeah, so for example, I would buy in for X percent, 25%, 30%, 40%, whatever. And then that gives me a share of the, profits. And so we do quarterly distributions, and, there's whatever X $1,000 we're distributing, and I get, whatever portion of that, relative to my ownership. And so yeah, that's, generally the idea. And so also intentionally investing in, profitable businesses. And so, I'm involved with four agencies, so service businesses, mostly in the e-commerce space, and then one, a publishing website. And the businesses, like they're all profitable, and so I have a stake in all of them. That quarterly distributions, I get a slice from each of them. And so in that very intentionally was my strategy of like building cash flow, because one of the things after I exited, it's like, oh, I've got all this cash, no income, and I wanted income. And so going after businesses that even none of these are going to be billion-dollar unicorns, none of them are going to IPO, and that's fine. If I can get a solid return on my investments, that's what I'm going for. Hit a bunch of solid doubles, as opposed to swing for the fences and maybe you hit a home run or maybe you strike out. And so that's one part of the strategy that's been very intentional.
Are you bringing money to the table, or are you coming in on like an earn-in basis, or are they all structured differently?
Yes, all of them, there has been a cash component, but there's also generally been an earnout component. And so, there's some cash down, and then also like a period. So my share of distributions up to X amount go to, the founder. And then, that will equate into my, eventually I'll, kind of get my own distributions or kind of earn into the share. And so, yeah, stuff that I've learned, like as an investor, number one rule, don't lose money. And, to do that, minimizing your, capital risk. And so yeah, that's been, some of the deals, they've been, a little bit creatively structured so it's less cash out of pocket. And so yeah, having some sort of an earnout component, but also stuff that I've learned. I mean, with this, all the businesses I'm involved with, they're all, they're friends of mine, people who I know personally, and some of them are it's not as straightforward as I, was maybe originally anticipating. And so it's also I think some of these businesses, they're relatively small. Like when I'm getting involved, they're maybe, low mid six figures. And, and so I get, I buy a chunk, and, there's all these different levers in the business. I mean, most notably the owner's salary, as well as then the profit. And I could be, say, 50%, 50%, profit share. But if my partner who's running the business, they could also just as their salary goes up and down, that directly impacts the, amount of profit. And so some of these things, And, I'm like, genuinely, I want it to be a good, situation for everyone and my partners as well as myself. And like, and so yeah, like in stuff that I've learned where originally there wasn't a salary for my partners, and like, and not intentionally, I just like didn't think about it. I like didn't know like, oh, like the, person running the business should have a salary. Like I mean, it's just like how it should work. And so, that, for example, like at a certain point later on, adding like, all right, like you should get a salary, X $1,000 a month, like that directly comes out of my pocket. That wasn't part of the agreement. And it can have a big impact. And I mean, all the businesses are all like going in a good direction. I mean, I'm happy with the investments, but I just share that to say that like, there's a lot of stuff that has come up and does come up that like I wasn't expecting when I first got into this. And it's, there is a learning curve and there's been a big learning experience and yeah, and now I'm a lot like the last business that I invested partnered with was, I guess it was like, at like mid last summer. So, maybe, I don't know, 15 months ago or something. And yeah, and after that, I mean, I've kind of been taking a little bit of a break or like a little bit of a step back because, yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of, becoming aware of what the obligations are and what my, time commitments for this or that. And also just kind of like, reevaluating what I want or what structures, do I want. I went through this amazing program, which you'd probably really enjoy, put on by Roland Frazier and like the digital marketer guys called the Epic Accelerator. Are you familiar with this?
I'm not. I assumed you were going towards legs when you were talking about that, his leverage actually grow scale.
Yeah. So this, they launched as like the online version of legs and so I went through this program in the spring, when COVID hit. And I mean, yeah. So from that, I learned a ton of, different strategies and this or that. And like, one thing that I'm now, moving forward, what I'm more interested in is some of these like, consulting / service for equity type stuff where it's like, all right, look, as an example, if you want to hire me as a consultant, that's going to cost you $100,000 for X, period of time. Be like, look, I know you don't have $100,000 to pay me as a consultant, but you want my help. Instead, let's just take that $100,000 fee and, that'll be my investment into the business. And so, there'll be for this long or this, you need to sort out some details, but like, that's a strategy where you can be like, all right, look, I have experience and value to add. And you attach a number to it. Like, look, as a consultant, this is what I would charge you. And so, all right, like if you want to pay me $100,000, fine. Or let's take that, zero out of pocket for you. That'll be my, investment into the business. And then we'll, blow this thing up together. And so, that, or, I also, some of the businesses I'm like trying to build like a back end of services and value to add. And so whether that's, like bookkeeping and financials is, one, or, Facebook ads or marketing or, copywriting, like I'm trying to, or I have been like building my team that I'm also trying to make available to help some of these businesses. So it's like, all right, look, my consulting would be X, these services from my team, is Y. And so let's just take that and like, that's my investment. And we'll grow it together. And so yeah, I mean, there's tons of different ways to structure, but like, that's some of the stuff that I'm thinking about, or, some of the ways that, yeah, maybe can put some ideas in your head too.
Yeah. That last one definitely did. So I do some consulting on the side. There's been a few businesses I've worked with where it's like, man, I'd like to come in here. I think I could do a lot more damage with more time. Some have been open to it, some haven't. And I don't know if I was in the right position either. And then I didn't necessarily want to bring money to the table. Earnouts aren't necessarily attractive unless you got to believe in each other, right? So that's often hard to do. But like the idea of exchanging my consulting fees for equity, that's definitely something I would consider. And it's something I've tossed around. I know what I could do in almost any e-commerce business. I could come in there and pull the right levers for you and change change your business. And so, I don't know. I'm more interested in that than I am, again, just throwing some money on Shopify stock or Tesla or whatever it is, right? Like, that doesn't intrigue me as much as like having a little more control, I think, over the business and being able to do stuff. Like, I enjoy cash flow. Certainly I would love cash flow, but I would also like to have the ability to put my hands in there and pull some big levers.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I feel the same way. And that's what really drew me to getting involved with this. But yeah, but, just some stuff like, food for thought for you personally of stuff that I've kind of learned. I mean, it is great, but it's also like another perspective to kind of look at some of these depending on what your involvement is. Like, you're also paying someone. I mean, if there's a cash investment, it could be looked at as paying someone to become their consultant. And so, it's like, all right, look, like, you want my help. I want to invest. Here's a chunk of money and I'm going to consult for you. And it's like, there is upside, potential for sure. But like, until you get paid back, I mean, there's like, one of the businesses I invested in, this was the biggest, amount of money out of pocket of the businesses that I've gotten involved with. Actually, the second biggest out of pocket. And, so fast forward, it's been about 2 years. I've been paid back, which is great. I'm now in the green, but also like, if I look at my hourly rate, we've gotten on, it's been, I don't know, like hundred or hundreds of hours of my time, chatting with my business partner, thinking about the business. And I mean, and also like, these are activities that I generally like. I like it. I mean, I'm happy to get on calls and like I like my business partner's a great guy. But if you look at my hourly rate over the last 2+ years, I've maybe I got my money back. I mean, now is where I should hopefully moving forward kind of realize the gains. But like to date, maybe I've profited $5,000 and for just say 100 hours of my time. So like. Not a very compelling hourly rate, but, now my involvement is less than it was, when things were just getting started. And so, and yeah, the business is going well. And so if that keeps paying me, my rate and everything, will continue to go up. But just, another perspective to think about, which I got super excited. Oh, like investing in partnering businesses. It is exciting, but yeah, also just need to be really clear about, your role, and the outcomes that you're going for. So it can be structured appropriately.
Yeah. I like all that. It's making my head spin with ideas. So all of you that are listening that I've worked with before, this is your sign to reach back out again. Nate's giving me a lot of ideas here. But I want to talk about other investments, right? So outside of putting your money into other businesses, you are partner on Use the Bitcoin, as I'm seeing on LinkedIn here, where you are dedicated to delivering the latest news in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So I have to assume that says March 2018. I would have to assume you were smart enough to put some of your money in Bitcoin in March 2018.
Yeah, well, I mean, what happened is, so actually after selling the FBA business, and this was the spring of 2017, had a bunch of cash, and like I owned a little bit of Bitcoin at that time, enough to be kind of noticing when this was like the Bitcoin run. It went from 500 to all of a sudden like 2,500. And so, I owned a little bit of man. I mean, Ethereum was like, I bought like 10, 14, the year before. And so I had a little bit and, enough to kind of notice when things were starting to, go up. And yeah, so I mean, I dumped like a big chunk of the money that when I sold my business, I dumped a big chunk of that into crypto in the spring of 2017. And like, that led me on this next rabbit hole of like, I was deep into the crypto scene. And, I mean, my net worth in crypto ballooned. I mean, that was like, that was the wealthiest I've ever been, at the peak of that bubble. And like I was all in. I mean, this was also a period I was really in between things. I had just sold this business. I had invested in one business, but I really was, looking for what to do and what to do next. And and yeah, so was like flying around to all these events and doing all these ICOs and this and that. And, some hit quite big. And yeah, that like, that was, a crazy year. And then, I wrote it up and I wrote it down. And, but then at some point, in whenever it was, I think the summer, this website became available on Empire Flippers, and and Travis messaged me and was like, hey, maybe we should buy this. And yeah, so long story short, we did. Me, Travis, and our other friend David, bought this website. And so yeah, I spent some of my crypto on it. Looking back, if I would have just held the Bitcoin, it would have been worth I don't know what I sold it at to buy the site, but it's up a lot now.
I just looked when I was there, right? So March 2018, it was at like 10K, about nine and a half. It's essentially doubled since then, as we're talking today. And all the pundits are saying it's going to be 100K a year from now, right? I'm genuinely curious your thoughts on this. I'd love to talk a little crypto. I don't know how deep knowledge you have there, but it blows me away. It blows me away, like how we haven't moved there already. It just makes so much sense. And then the smart contracts on top of that, and there's a lot of good things going over there. So I'm genuinely curious, what percentage of your wealth, being a guy who used the Bitcoin, is into cryptocurrencies?
So I have at my peak, crypto was 95% of my, net worth. And this, and then it went up, it went down. And yeah, now in terms of liquid net worth, I'm probably, about half crypto, but, Bitcoin, things are currently on a tear. And so, 2 months ago, that was probably closer to 25%, which was what I thought was oh, this is a good portion of, my cash to be in crypto. Now, things have gone up a lot. And so it's more, and yeah, I'm so a few takeaways from my deep dive into crypto in, 2017, 18. One thing kind of coming out of that I was really jaded, honestly. I bought into all the hype and, all the promise of, blockchain is, revolutionizing the world and this is the future. And, I flew to events. I was all around the world in Vietnam, Thailand, Hong Kong, Singapore, Korea, just events, really getting involved with the the scene. And yeah, I just I was all in. And, coming out, it went this, it went down. One of the things coming out of that was that yes, the technology is cool. I'm long Bitcoin for sure. We can talk about, that a little bit more too. But one of the things that I realized was that I'm a business guy. I love business. I love entrepreneurship. I love online business, e-commerce, distributed teams. And I wanted to be on a path that I was in control of, and that was a long-term direction. And so I very consciously kind of, shifted my focus from, crypto and blockchain, of which there's a lot of cool stuff going on for sure. And I'm definitely long, the space, but yeah, I made a decision in, 2018 when I was it was all right, I need to go back. I'm an entrepreneur and that's what I love. And yeah, investing's cool, but I love business and building business and helping people with their business. And that's the track that I want to be on. The crypto stuff is great. I'm happy to, to dabble, but entrepreneurship is my thing. And crypto, again, I'm happy to have some and, to dabble, but I didn't want to go all in like I did before. And also during that time, it's crazy. Yeah, I was up all this money, but it's such a, it messes with you, there's days, all of a sudden I'm up all this money. And the next day I'm down all this money. And it's super easy to look back and be oh, look, this went up, 50x, and if I was only on that, I would have rode that. But you ride it up, like timing it is challenging. And do you sell, and now this is stuff that I'm even thinking about with Bitcoin. And like, I'm super long Bitcoin, but what I've noticed, a pattern that I participated in, firsthand and really experienced was like, this is what happens. There's a big run up, then a crash. Then, there's another run up, then there's a crash. Each time it seems that the floor is raised at each crash, but that this is like the, fourth or fifth, like significant run up in Bitcoin, since its inception. And like, yeah, like I think that Bitcoin is going to be around, and I think that its value is going to continue to go up. But like, I don't think it's going to just keep rocket shipping up. I mean, honestly, what I think, and just from having experienced this a couple years ago, I think it's going to go up. I think it's going to crash. I mean, I don't know what it'll go down to, but I don't think it's on a one-way rocket ship. And, I think it'll go down, and same thing, then it'll go back up again. And so, yeah, like stuff that I'm actually thinking about is like, should I trade some of my Bitcoin? Bitcoin's at 20K or whatever. Like, okay, should I, trade that and then hold cash? And then, when Bitcoin drops to whatever I could be wrong. This is just genuinely what I think. Okay, wait for it. It's up, trade out at the top, then it goes down, and buy back in at whatever 10K or like something lower than freaking 20. And so yeah, this is stuff that I'm kind of thinking about, and yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I'm just genuinely curious, right? So for the listener out there who doesn't understand Bitcoin or blockchain or any of that stuff, first off, go to YouTube and just type in like Bitcoin for beginners or blockchain for beginners. It truly is the future. I don't see how it's not. It removes fraud. It removes middlemen. It truly is innovation. Like there's no way this isn't the future. And so I think the difference, so I just wanted to comment on like it goes up and crashes, right? So 2017 had that huge bubble, may have been driven by some people, pushing the price of the coin up. I think what's different this time is laws have come through in the United States that have paved the way for big institutional money to come in here, and it's okay. And so that's why I'm bullish on where I think it's finally going to go. I really hope it dips. I actually have some cash sitting on the sidelines waiting for this dip that I assume has to come before it goes again. But I'm a big believer. And so I was genuinely curious. I was actually hoping you were more into it. I wanted to shoot the shit and see where else you thought, you were willing to put your money, like Chainlink or Ethereum or, any of the other coins out there that I think really have an opportunity to change the world, truly change the world. DeFinancing is going to change the fucking world when you can borrow against things without needing a bank or needing anything.
I mean, one that I'm really happy to be, a DeFi service that I'm using that I'm wish I got on it sooner is it's this like crypto bank, Nexo. If you're familiar, it's like nexo.io. But it's it's like, my understanding, it's the most like legitimate bank, and so it's like they have like $100 million in insurance, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. So it pays out as U.S. citizens, you get the short end of the stick, but you still get 5% interest on Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's paid out daily, and you can also. And so with this bank, it's like I have my account, I get interest on it, but you also can get like 10% interest on stable coins. And so, so like DAI or Tether or USDC. And so, yeah, like that's kind of, so that's where I'm holding a lot of my crypto now, is just in this, Nexo bank. And it's kind of cool. I mean, I'm making some interest, and like, and also like, just buy, like you qualify immediately for like up to 50% of your value of crypto in loans, like instantly. Like I can just go in and just like withdraw, X up to whatever thousands of dollars of just like loan, cash. Like it's just like available in there. It's pretty cool. I mean, I haven't used the loan, or I mean, I haven't taken it out, but like, just to have that available instantly, it's pretty cool. And I mean, it's paying interest. And like what I'm thinking of doing at a certain point is like, take a chunk, trade it into, a stable coin to then be able to just like, cause I don't want to go into USD if I don't have to. But just to hold the value, make more interest then when Bitcoin goes down. And also to your point, I'm aware and noticing some of these big banks, $100 million investments into crypto. And that is, that is definitely, happening. And I think, will continue to be a trend. I still think it's going to, come back down. I mean, long term, I think it's going to keep going up, but like, I think it's, this kind of roller coaster of a ride. I mean, if history is any indicator. And so I mean, I also have more money that I want to buy back in, when it's lower, if it's lower. And so, but yeah, I don't know. That's some stuff that I'm playing with these days.
Yeah, I would encourage anybody who's listening who really doesn't have a clue what the heck we're talking about to like go do research, because it truly is the future. Again, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, but I'm being honest of where I'm putting my money currently. Of like, I made a $25,000 angel investment in a company called Dibs.io, that I believe is going to be the future of the sports trading card world and collectible world, as far as like having fractional ownership via coins into sports trading cards. I'm 100% putting probably an equal chunk into crypto, if not a little bit more. Again, I think it's the future. I think it's an opportunity to possibly 50 or 100x on your money in some of these certain coins, and that's just unrealistic elsewhere. And
you know something crazy I saw on a friend posted on Instagram today, but $1,000 in Bitcoin 7 years ago, guess what it is worth now. It's like mind blowing. It's like $100 million, $100 million in 7 years. Like, that's insane. Yeah. So, I mean, crazy times.
Yeah, I truly think we're at the beginning. Like this is barely scratching the surface of when the internet was born. This is the next internet in my opinion. And as long as I have some money to put in there that I'm okay losing, or I'm gonna ride long. I'm gonna ride it in my Lamborghini to the moon eventually, but I'm gonna ride long, right? Like I know this is going somewhere. I know the potential it has, and I think if anybody listening is just clueless here, just go do an hour of research, watch all of the 4 dummy videos on YouTube, and you'll be convinced that there's no way we're not using this in the future. And I think what also scares me is our economy is $15 trillion, and we put $3 trillion more into it during COVID, and likely going to do $3 trillion more again when the new president is elected and does another stimulus, right? And so the dollar you have now is going to be worth considerably less than it normally would be, and it's already going to be worth less if I just let it sit on the sideline. So I appreciate you giving any feedback you have. I'm just genuinely curious. I want to build wealth, right? And you seem like a very smart guy, so I appreciate understanding where you put your money. And I want to spread mine around personally, right? I want to make an angel investment. I want to put some in crypto. I want to put some into businesses where I have a little more control over over the levers. I'm honestly clueless on where else to put it. I want cash flow, and I eventually want to be able to, air quote, retire. I don't think I'll ever be able to turn it off, nor do I understand why anybody would want to. I want to do business for the rest of my life, but at the same point, I want enough invested that's paying me yearly what I want to live and still be able to go play.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's like my goal as well. I mean, like I love business and like I want to keep doing it, but also just to have, income coming in that's not tied to really my time or efforts, enough to live the life that I want. So I just don't have to worry about it. That definitely is a goal as well. If only I literally, I mean, at the crypto peak, hindsight 2020, I could have just pulled out, bought a bunch of real estate and been done. Of course I didn't, but, hopefully it's good that I learned that lesson, in my late 20s so that I don't have to learn that lesson, when it's even more riding.
I'd love it if you were like, I wish somebody was a journaler back then to see them at 20K in 2017 in December, right? And as it dropped in half essentially in a month. I would love to see people's thoughts as it went along of why they were hodling, what they were feeling, their emotions going through that roller coaster that was 2017 back then, and it was a giant bubble and it burst, right? And hopefully that's not the case currently moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I was like very much, a part of that. And it was crazy of like being on, I was like so wrapped up in it all and at the events and this and that. And like, it was stressful. And, but yeah, have since recovered and, back long, Bitcoin for sure.
Well, look, I appreciate all the investment advice. I'd love to know, like, what are you doing now, right? So you sold that business, you've invested in AMZPathfinder, a few other agency businesses. What are you doing to like occupy your time? Those are obviously all, fringe things for you. What is the main thing for you right now?
Yeah, so some of the stuff that I've been spending more time with, or just like consciously doing, is one is in spending more time like creating content and like publishing. And so this is something that I, very intentionally like I like creating content. I like sharing. I mean, I like thinking, and I like having ideas, and I like having to organize and kind of distill and then publishing and sharing. And so that's something that I've in the midst of this journey of publishing and and really like the big goal, or one of the big goals from that, is really just like like to continue to build up my network, audience, like 1,000 true fans kind of thing. And like some stuff that's become very clear to me in the last like 6 months even is just that like, this question that I don't know if you've dug much into like Dan Sullivan books or content or strategic coach, but he has this book called Who Do You Want to Be a Hero To? And I've listened to it like 5 times, and like that question of who do you want to be a hero to has really been like anchoring for me, and so something that's become very clear is just that like I love business, I love entrepreneurs, and I want to work with and help entrepreneurs, and like that's kind of like this guiding light that now is it's like anchor in terms of whatever directions I'm going in. And in terms of like how do I do that, there's like I'm kind of currently agnostic, and so investing, partnering with these people is one a piece of that, and I want to continue to do more of that. I launched a online training program helping people hire to build better teams, hiring, get them to do more of what they want. And, so have this, online program now that also, to help people, same with targeting the same people, the businesses building services that are, again, serving and supporting, other entrepreneurs. Like that's, with the publishing, whether it's writing, podcasting, videos, like, that's just like the direction that I very, consciously want to be continuing to move in. And like just add value to these people that I want to serve and I want to help in, a variety of ways, whatever kind of way. But it's like, what's the important thing to me is just like, who it is that I'm working with, and kind of building out a bigger suite of ways to work with and support those people.
So you kind of touched on this before our call, actually. So talk me through that, right? I'm assuming you're talking about SellerPlex, SellerPlex.com when you're talking about helping these entrepreneurs.
One of them, yeah. So that's like a service business. We work mostly with Amazon FBA, other Amazon sellers, and that's one as well. And like that was birthed from. Like I sold my business, but I had this amazing team. I always loved hiring, and I had great people. I was like, oh well, maybe other people that don't want to deal with their supply chain, account admin, finance, maybe other people would want help just like I did, but they're not as experienced on the hiring side. And so, yeah, so started offering services with my team. And that's generally going well. That's like 2 years into that business around now. And yeah, we offer a variety of services, aimed at helping FBA sellers focus on the stuff that they want to do that can have an impact, really move the needle on the business, and allow them to, delegate the other areas, whether it's, supply chain, admin, operations, finance. So that's one of the businesses that I'm involved with. And that one, I started, it was my team, and I don't have any partners in it. But I do have an amazing team and a general manager who really runs that business for me. And so, I kind of treat that one quite similar to the other businesses in my portfolio where, my involvement, I'm more involved with that than the other ones, but not, it's not a ton. My GM Menno does a great job, managing the team, running the business, account managing, with our clients. And yeah, we've got a great team over there. And so yeah, my involvement is more of, advisor as opposed to operator. And so yeah, what I'm spending more of my own time is more content, trying to, I've been publishing content, but the next phase is going to be getting some more paid marketing behind it, or I haven't, I'm still kind of finalizing some things for this hiring training program that I launched, a beta to my organic social, I just make posts about it on Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, do plan to market that more. But also all this stuff, want things to be moving forward, but it's also it's not a rush. I wanted to make a bunch of money, but also fortunately, the other businesses are also, do well. And it's like the opposite of what we were talking about earlier, of where when I was first getting into e-commerce and drop shipping and I need to make money, today. It's, now it's the opposite. And it's everything I want is long-term, is this going to be a piece or an asset to my life career, 6 months, 1 year, years down the road. And if it's not, I'm just not interested in short-term opportunities now, and just want my focus to be on the long-term and doing, big picture, long-term in mind. And so, yeah.
So before the call, you were talking about, serving entrepreneurs and helping them get out of their business, right? And also do what they want to do, use their business as a tool. Where is that? Is that consulting with you? Talk me through how that works, because you were super passionate about it. And I said, please save this. I want to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. So it's a few things. I think I'll start with the kind of the core concept that has really, I've been thinking a lot about these days. And it's this distinction between freedom from and freedom to. And so I think everyone craves more freedom. This was the motivating factor for me when I got started. It was, I want freedom, the freedom to travel, the freedom to, time freedom, financial freedom, location freedom. And that was just that's why I wanted to do all of this was, freedom. And I think that's, I don't know, I haven't really met many people that don't self-identify with wanting freedom. But yeah, something that I was introduced to kind of the last few years is this distinction, freedom from and freedom to. And so freedom from is the freedom, from the obstacles and hurdles or chains that are holding you back. And, that's important. And, achieving your freedom from is is definitely important. But it's more the first step. And so it's great. All right, you've got freedom. And this is it's common for entrepreneurs, and, maybe in your life career, you've experienced something similar. You're if only I, had enough money and time, and, then yeah, you have an exit or your business grows, and it's you realize that, nothing to do all day, every day, isn't actually what you want. And, I've been there. I've had days, woken up, nothing to do, money in my bank, and honestly, it gets old fast. It's, you feel empty and, you don't have, fulfillment and anyway. And so that's where the second side of freedom, the freedom to, comes in. And so it's like, all right, you've gotten yourself to this point where you have the opportunity now to be intentional about what responsibilities you engage yourself with. And so, the freedom to, for example, serve the people that you feel compelled to serve, who you want to be a hero to, the freedom to, do work and do activities that, bring you energy, give you excitement, allow you to, do the things that, make you special. The freedom to, have an impact in the way that is meaningful to you. And so in business and entrepreneurship is, if it's built the right way, like that's the vehicle for both of our freedoms, the freedom, away from, as well as enabling to. And so, yeah, that's like a core, business life philosophy that I think is, super important for me, you, all of us. And so, yeah, like, and like, that's what I want to help people with. And so whether that's with, information resources or trainings or courses or just my, free public content, aimed at helping people to do more of what they love, build the business in a way that, serves them, amplifies their skills and talents, and allows them to, do more of what they like, less of what they don't like, as well as, the investing and partnering with businesses and like, yeah, consulting, like, I'm open. I mean, I haven't really done much like kind of classic consulting, but like, I'm open. Like, if it seems like a fun project, I mean, I'm in talks with a friend now about, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what the arrangement is going to look like, but he's interested in my help with, a variety of these things. And I mean, we're both interested. He wants my help. I want to help. We've known each other for a long time. And like, yeah, it's, unclear of what how it, what the arrangement or whatever is going to look like. But again, like I'm open. It's like, as long, like what's important to me is working with the people that I want to be working with, having an impact. And in terms of the structure, like, look, if like, I want to make a bigger pie and, each get a slice of the pie. And so whether that's as an investor partner, whether that's as a consultant, whether that's as a this or that, like, things can be chopped up in a million different ways. And like, that's less my concern. And it's more about working with the people that I want to work with, being able to, create value, have an impact, and then, sharing somewhat in the, benefit that, we're mutually creating. And so yeah, I guess long story short, a variety of ways that, I'm interested in helping people, whether it's info, courses, free content, coaching, consulting, investments, like, yeah, I don't know, all I think could have a place.
Well, I like your mission behind it all, right? And we're all on a journey to figure out how to make that happen. So I appreciate that. I actually wrote down the book. That sounds like an awesome thing. Dan Sullivan's an OG. I like a lot of his stuff, and I've never heard of that book somehow. So I'm pumped to read that.
It's good. It's short, it's in a good way, yeah, take you a couple hours, but it's super good.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm looking forward to watching you grow and like figuring this all out of how you can help, because that mission's incredible, right? This is exactly why all of us built our business. And then we do all get to a point of like, okay, now I'm here, but I'm still unhappy, right? Like, how do we find happiness and fulfillment? And so like, I'm curious to watch you go. I don't know how you spend the time you spend writing. Like, everyone go add Nate as a friend on Facebook and just read his posts that he puts out there. You put so much effort into those posts, and you're really, really good at it. And so, I'm excited to watch where this goes. How can anybody who's listening to this like reach out to you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'd say the best, like you said. I mean, if anyone likes any of the stuff that we've been talking about, follow me on social, at Nate Ginsburg on Instagram, or Nate Ginsburg on Facebook. And yeah, I mean, I'm publishing there regularly, and yeah, you'll get a much better sense for me, and also like I make offers there, and if you're so compelled or interested in finding ways to work together, like, yeah, just kind of keeping up with my social, you'll, be aware of what some of those things are, or yeah, shoot me a message. I mean, I love to meet new people and yeah, but I think like the social is a good place to start.
Sweet, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I look forward to us jamming in the future when you have even more stuff to talk about.
Man, yeah, this is a blast. I mean, thanks for I guess, yeah, the invite and the time, and yeah, look forward to, ways that we can cooperate, co-invest, this, something in the future, and man, hopefully can meet up at a Twins game sometime, maybe next summer. Who knows?
God willing. I'd pay anything to be sitting at a Twins game right now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah. So have a lot of these things to look forward to in the future. And yeah, thanks for coming on. This was a blast jamming.
Cheers, man. I hope you were able to learn something from Nate today, whether it be about investing in Bitcoin or, driving your Amazon business to a sale, or investing in other businesses, or what type of partnerships are out there and what that could look like for you. I certainly learned a lot about partnering, but whatever you want to do, you can do. Like, whatever makes you happy, whatever your values are, build the life you want to live. Nate has certainly embodied that. He has lived abroad for a long time, and he travels home back to Minneapolis every once in a while, but whatever you want to do, you can do. And I encourage you to go find that happiness and chase after it relentlessly, and don't give up until you find it. I certainly learned a lot about partnerships during this podcast, as far as like the creativity you can have in deal structure. And so I've partnered with plenty of businesses in the past. I'm hoping to partner with plenty in the future. If that sounds like something you, the listener, want to do, you want to partner with me, go to my website, benknagendorf.com. It'll be in the show notes. Shoot me something on my contact us page, and let's talk. Let's see what that looks like. I know I can help a lot of e-commerce businesses, so I'm excited to see how many of you reach out and how many make a lot of sense for us to come together and make some things happen in your business. So make sure you reach out. Make sure you follow Nate on Facebook and Instagram. Again, that'll be in the show notes, and I will see all of you next Wednesday.